Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video here at the Armory. I hope you guys understand that with the holiday season and everything coming up, sorry that it's taken so long to do another video here, but I'm hoping now we can start getting back on track here now that the holidays are slowly starting to taper downward. Obviously at the time of this recording, we still have New Year's to go through, which is just in a couple days. So today, first off, I just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers we got over the holidays, and I want to say thank you to everyone who has really hung in there with me. You know, I wanted to make videos, but unfortunately I needed to choose between making videos or spending time with my family and giving glory to God. So, obviously I chose the right one. So today, what we're going to do is we are going to be doing some gunsmithing to the Century Arms Centurion 14, aka Browning High Power Clone. Now the gunsmithing that we are doing, first off, completely legal, but again, I'm not a professional, I'm not an expert, I'm just a guy with a hobby, and I'm just showing you guys what I've seen other people do. So, just as a quick description of what we're going to do, we're actually going to try and get the magazine disconnect out of this firearm, so that way the magazine will actually fall freely from the firearm. Now, why do we want to do this? Well, for starters, if you're in a self-defense situation, you actually want to have a firearm that the magazine will actually fall freely from the gun. And I'll demonstrate this with my CZ P10C. Just do a quick safety check. As you can see, nothing down the barrel. There is a magazine inside there, but for the demonstration purposes, we need a magazine inside the gun. So, you want to have a firearm that will actually spit the magazine out very quickly, even when it's empty. So the reason why you want that is that if you're in a self-defense situation, you want to have the utmost certainty that, hey, as soon as I press this button right here, I know for a fact that's going to drop that magazine right out of that gun. And the problem with the Browning, whether it's the original or the FN or the Centurion, they copy this like right down to the bones of the fact that they put the magazine disconnect in here. So with that being said, when you hit the mag release right here, it doesn't drop all the way out. So if you're in a self-defense situation, that can really be a problem because of the fact that, for example, if you had fired your last shot in a firearm without the disconnect, you would be able to reach for your secondary mag while this is being shot out and then load the next one into it without even having to fiddle around with anything. But when it comes to a firearm like the Browning with a magazine disconnect in there, you actually have to push it, pull the magazine out, then take your empty mag and either just drop it on the ground or you put it in your pocket while you're reaching for your other one and then get that into action. And in my personal opinion, you don't want the magazine disconnect like that. The other thing that really handicaps the gun, having a magazine disconnect in there, the pressure pad in here for the disconnect actually will not allow you to fire the gun. That's another problem too. Because I can make a safety argument for that. So just like, for example, if I have to put in a magazine all the time, so again, empty mag, nothing in the chamber. But I can actually make a safety argument of why you don't want to have the magazine disconnect in a firearm, because if I need to put a magazine into the gun just to get the hammer to go back forward, whether I do it like this or whether I do it like this, you know, the problem of it is that what happens if I accidentally forget to check the slide, which happens very, very rarely. Like, I've never done that before, but it is a safety precaution that it may happen. But what happens if I, you know, put a magazine in there with a gun and the slide is back, and then I'm sitting there going like, oh yeah, I forgot, I need to put the stupid magazine in there because I got to disconnect the hammer, bang, and then all of a sudden it goes off. So there's actually a case to be made of why the disconnect is not a very safe thing to have in there, because I would rather have the ability. Let's just imagine that this has the magazine inside. Well, let's just imagine that the magazine is not inside the gun. I would rather have the ability to be able to pull the magazine out, rack the slide back to make sure it's empty, and be able to bring the hammer forward without needing a magazine inside the gun. Because that limits your chances of issues ever happening. Okay, so here's what we're going to do to get the magazine disconnect out. So, for those of you guys at home, what you're going to want is a little pin punch right here. The size for this that I think is going to work in here, because it just is almost there, is a 30 seconds pin punch. And it also comes with a little hammer. I got steel on one side and brass on the other. So in order to do this, and I've got a little pin punch kit right here, so later on we can do more videos on this kind of stuff if we ever run into cases where, you know, I need to press some pins out or anything like that. Got that off Amazon for like 25 bucks. Not bad. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that the gun is unloaded. Obviously we have done that, but always safe than sorry. Nothing in the chamber. So I'm going to go ahead and spring that forward, put the empty magazine in. Alright, taking the magazine out. Now, we're going to rack this all the way back to where the safety engages into the port right here so that we can push our slide lock pin out. And then we're just going to release the safety and then slide everything off. So, up to this point, everything's fairly easy. So, you'll see this little roll pin in the trigger right there. That is what is holding the disconnect in there. Now, I have seen guys just be able to push this pin out, and then they will just pull this leaf spring right here where the trigger is, and I've seen this little box piece right in there. Where's my screwdriver? This will probably do just fine. So, right there, there's this little box detent right there. That is the pad that is pushing on the mag. Well, I've seen guys be able to just take this little leaf spring trigger right here. Probably see it better from this side. See that little part that's moving? I've seen guys just literally take that piece and just push it out, and then all of a sudden that just shoots out, and then it's done. So let's see if we can get lucky with that today. And if not, then we'll do what we need to do. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm taking a magazine, just a 1911 flat magazine, so that we can have a little bit of, you know, lift on the gun. So that way we don't have to worry about any issues. So then obviously I'm going to get the camera kind of moved in here. Unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to be able to zoom in on this, so you just have to kind of bear with me on this. First time I've ever done this kind of thing, so just bear with me on that too. So here we go. Okay. Just trying to get it lined up. There we go. Alrighty. Maybe, maybe not. Not too sure. Might be just a little too big for this thing. And it looks like it is. So, that's going to be way too big. I'm trying to find something else that just might work. But that was the smallest pin. So, I don't know. Let's try this one. Well, actually, no. There we go. It was the 1/16 that you're going to need for this. The 3/32, I guess, is just a little too big for it. There we go. All right. Push that pin right out. So as you can see right here, this was the little pin that was inside the trigger itself. So here we go. Let's hope this works. Okay, doesn't look like it. Of course, you know. Alrighty, I guess now we've got to go the long route. So that means that we're going to have to drift out this pin and get the whole trigger assembly out in order to work on this a little bit further. Luckily, I do have all the pin sizes for this thing. Alright, so here we go. Okay, need a little bit bigger. Let's try this one. Nope, too big. Just bear with me, guys. I didn't think I was going to have to do the whole 9 yards to this thing, but apparently I have to. So, trying to find the right one that's going to fit through there. There we go. I think maybe I'm pushing it the wrong way. My bad. There we go. It's just all a matter of the process of elimination. You just got to push it a little bit, and then you just got to work with it, and then you push it a little bit more with a different tool. It's just all you have to do. There we go. Yeah, I was pushing it the wrong way. So, just needs a little bit more to come out. Okay. So now the trigger is completely released. So this should just come right out, unless it still is in there. Unless there's still just a little bit of stuff going on in here. Okay. Trying to see where the mechanism was, or if it's just going to slide out now. Okay, so it's not being held in place by anything. Okay, so now we just have to wiggle this thing out. Come on. And I'm trying to be as ginger as possible because obviously I do not have a repair kit or a new trigger or anything like that, and I haven't even fired this gun yet. So I'm trying to be just very, very careful with this thing as possible. It doesn't look like another pin that can be pushed out. So now we have to just kind of like figure out how we're going to do this. Because there's no... Oh. Is that? Can that be pushed out? Maybe. Alright, let me just try it real quick. one way or the other, guys, we're down the rabbit hole now. So now we're just going to see what we can do. I don't know. I don't think that's something that can just be pushed out. So let's go ahead and we're just going to try and monkey with this as much as possible. We just got to kind of work it out somehow. All right. Okay. And believe me, guys, it's kind of a little bit of a struggle, but I've never done this before, so it's all a matter of just trying to get this thing. Hey, there we go. Alrighty. Well, I just now have gotten the whole trigger assembly out. And then by doing so, the little leaf spring came out too. So we gotta install that back in. But obviously, I just want to make sure that nothing else came out. So bear with me for a minute, guys. I don't think anything else came out, but you don't want to make the mistake of not getting all your pieces and parts together while you have the chance. Alright, so now we have the magazine disconnect completely out. So now the trick is going to be trying to get this leaf spring back in here. There we go. Alright. So there we are. So obviously that is the magazine disconnect right there. So now we have to reinfuse this back into the gun. And we got to do it in such a way where we're going to be able to put this back in there and keep it steady. Now, the issue is that when this is in there, this mates to that and it hooks in there. So, can it be done? Yes, I have seen guys do it 100 times. So it might be a case of where we have to just leave that spring out for the moment. And then we'll install it once it's inside. So I'm just, looking at this one more time. So guys, I'm just a little fascinated by it, so just give me a few minutes. Okay guys, so I just wanted to pause the video because I was fascinated by how this little leaf spring was going to fit into the trigger without the disconnect in there. And it can be done because there is this little half moon piece right there, and that mounts into the trigger. And then when you reinstall it back into the trigger, there is a spring in there that keeps tension down on it, and that is what the pin right here pushes down on that spring so things won't come loose. So in order to get the trigger back in, what I found the easiest way to do is to come in from this side and push it back up in. So now comes the fiddly part. Now we're going to have to just reinstall this little guy. And I feel like it's going to be easier to do once the trigger and everything is back into place. So what we're going to do is now we're going to kind of line up the pin really quickly just so that we can get it started, semi-started. Okay? Because remember, once that pin goes through, that's what's holding everything in place. So I'm trying to get it somewhat started on in the hole of the trigger itself, so that way it's just gonna, it's all gonna come together a lot easier once I start tapping on the thing. Alright, I think I went a little too far. Let's go ahead and see if I can't just knock it out just a little bit. Well, I knocked it all the way out. Wasn't intentional, but either way, you live and you learn. Alright, so the trick is that you have to have the trigger lined up in a very specific way to where this is going to work, but you also have to keep that hook on the inside. Alright, there we go. So now that I've got this lined up semi-correctly, there we go. So when you get this lined up, so there's a little hook spring right in there that needs to stay inside and hook onto the frame to provide tension to this. So once you get that lined up correctly, get yourself a little pin to shove through. That way when you start aligning the actual pin back up, you'll be pushing this out while aligning this all together. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our little leaf spring back in here. A part of me wants to know what John Browning was kind of thinking at the time when he was installing or creating this firearm. And far be it from me to question the man himself, because the guy knew more about firearms than I do. But you still got to kind of ask that question, John, what were you thinking? Making something as complex as this, But that's kind of I can't pronounce this word. That's the fascination, and that wasn't the word I was trying to pronounce, but it is the fascination of trying to get this stuff to either be smithed in a way to where it's going to work better for the modern day group of people. Because, believe it or not, the Browning High Power actually still holds a pretty good place in today's weaponries. You just have to understand that this gun, when it was first designed, this was like cutting edge back then. Because back then, you didn't have a 9mm that was going to hold 13 rounds in a magazine. So, give me one more second, guys. Okay, guys, we were having a little bit of technical difficulty here for a second. So, what I found that I had to do was I had to take that little leaf spring right there, and I needed to pull that trigger group out just a little bit in order to get it in place. So, if you look down in here, there's the leaf spring, and there is the little spring that gets connected. I know it's kind of hard to see right there. So now we're going to get this lined up in the pin department. There we go. Okay, wrong size, but okay. No, I'm just saying it was the wrong pin size that I wanted in there. So you can see that the leaf spring is actually in a cutout right here that actually needs to fit in there. So you need to, what I did, I first installed the trigger by coming in from this side, so you kind of push it up in. Then once I got it in there, I pulled the trigger unit back just a little bit, and then I installed the leaf spring right in there into its hole right in here, and then I had to just kind of wiggle it into place so it fits into its little cutout inside the gun. Alright, now it's time to reinstall the pin. So now I just have to see what. So just so everyone can see right here, this side is chamfered and this side is not. The chamfered end goes from the left side of the gun through. So the chamfered end needs to end up on the right side of the gun. So here we go. Moment of truth now. Okay. And this is going to be just a little. It's going to be a little tricky. Probably needed to have this like lifted off the table a little bit, but we're going to make do with what we have. So, pushing the pin through here. Just trying to get it started. Alright. Okay. So, just so everyone can see, the pin is now started. You want to keep pressure on this so it doesn't just fall out due to gravity, okay? So, just bear that in mind. Okay. Because it'll be very easy to let that pin fall out, and then the trigger assembly falls down, and then you got to reset the whole process. There we go. Okay, I believe it's now safe to pull the pin out. Now we can finish it all the way through. Okay. Okay, so now our pin is flush on the left side, and the chamfered end is sticking out on the other side. So now, everything seems to be in place. Now it's the moment of truth. So now, we're going to reinstall our slide. Pull it all the way back. Lock it into place. Where is it? There it is. We put our slide lock pin back into place. And there we go. Alright. Let that slide forward. So far, so good. We're locked in place. So now, here's the magazine. Oh, wrong one. wrong magazine. So now, here we go. We're going to see if this will lock back. It locks back. That's a good start. So now, here it comes. Aww. It still is not dropping freely, but it will actually fire without the magazine inside. So I don't know if it's just the way the I think it has something to do with the mainspring housing inside there, but either way, maybe after this gun gets used a little bit, maybe it'll start to work a little bit better. But I have removed the magazine disconnect, and there is no magazine inside. So the hammer is now going forward. So everything should still be good. So we'll have to do a little bit more demonstrations on why that's not falling through. But I think it has something to do with the mainspring housing right in here. And we might have to loosen up that tension just a little bit. But or we may have to tighten it up, whatever way it goes. But either way, we have now taken out the magazine disconnect, and again, magazine out, and I can now feel a little bit of a difference. But I can feel a little bit of a difference just by pulling that out. So it might have something more to do with the, like I said, the mainspring right here. It might be working a little too hard to keep it in place. But I feel a lot less travel trying to get it in. And I feel a little less trying to pull it out. But again, no magazine. The hammer still goes forward. I think that's pretty awesome. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this video. And again, sorry that it's taking me so long to get one out to you guys, but I hope this video was very helpful for you guys. Stick around for more content on later on down the road. Again, please reference this to get the magazine disconnect out of your Browning high power or high power clones. Thank you guys for watching. This is Squirrel signing off, and remember, shoot straight and shoot safe. Have a good day.